time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with a Saturday morning sun, pop down in the living room for the big bowl of sugary cereal, watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Sawboss.
No, you're not.
No, that was last week. I'm Chris.
That was last
Hi.
week. Yeah.
Hello,
Hi, Chris.
I'm Chris.
No more Sawboss. But we'll probably always continue to do Sawboss.
I had to give him at least one more. Everyone seemed to love it. From
it
last
seems
episode.
like people loved Sawboss.
Yes,
yeah.
We got a lot of messages about Sawboss.
Well, this morning we watched, I was going to do the Sawboss voice again. This morning we watched Trollhunters.
And this was suggested to us on YouTube by The Precise Climber. So thank you.
The Precise Climber?
Yes, they're very precise in what they do.
Very nice. Very precise.
Yes. You know, it makes me think of Ice Climbers.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I wonder if that's the play on.
And like, they make me angry. So I really hope that this isn't one of the Ice Climbers.
I hope it's not a play on of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trollhunters was created in 2016 and is still running. Well, I guess technically still running currently. It's created and developed by Guillermo del Toro. Sorry, let me say that again. Guillermo del Toro, and produced by DreamWorks Animation and Double Dare You. It's run for one season, 26 episodes so far, but it's renewed for a second season, a second 13-episode season, February of 2017. So that should be coming sometime later this year.
Hopefully. We'll get to why in a little bit.
Yeah. It's solely on Netflix right now, and for a short synopsis, an ordinary boy finds a magic amulet that turns him into the next troll hunter, the champion of both the hidden world of trolls and his own.
And it's plural. Don't get it confused with Troll Hunter, because that's a completely different thing.
That's a movie, and it's two separate words, but there's confusion, but it can quickly be solved.
Yes, by paying attention.
To us. No, never pay attention to us. But Chris, who were some of the actors who played in this show?
So the voice of our main character, Jim, was Anton Yelchin, who you've probably seen in the Star Trek movies, in Charlie Bartlett, in the remake of Fright Night. And unfortunately, Anton died last year, very unexpectedly. So when we said that we're going to have another season, we're kind of like, hopefully, I mean, I'm not sure what they'll do, if they'll recast or what they're going to do. But in fact, I think he died before he even finished season 1. The voice of Toby, a.k.a. Tobes, was Charlie Saxton, who has mostly done live television such as Hung and Betas. The voice of Claire was Lexi Medrano. The voice of Blinky was Kelsey Grammer, who you will know from Frasier, The Simpsons, Boss, and he played Beast in X-Men The Last Stand, that X-Men movie we pretend never happened. The voice of Arg was Fred Tatasciore, who is known for Ben 10, Wolverine and the X-Men, the X-Men anime, in which he plays Beast in all of those, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Avengers Assemble as the Hulk, Rocksteady and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and pretty much every major video game series you can think of, but most notably for the voice of Soldier 76 in Overwatch.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah. The voice of Jim's mom, Barbara Lake, was Amy Landecker, who plays Sarah Pfefferman in Transparent. The voice of Mr. Strickler was Jonathan Hyde, who has made appearances in Titanic, Jumanji, The Mummy, and currently stars in The Strain. The voice of Steve was Stephen Yun, aka Glenn from The Walking Dead, and Keith from Voltron, which we still love. Season 2 came out not that long ago, and we binged it real hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the last character is Bular, who was voiced by Ron Perlman, and you would see him in Hellboy, Pacific Rim, Sons of Anarchy, and Hand of God. And that is quite the star-studded cast.
Yeah, I didn't read the cast at all, so there's some of those that were a complete surprise to me.
I've got you in my sights.
Kelsey Grammer, though, that voice is unmistakable.
Yeah, you knew exactly. Like as soon as you started talking, that was definitely Kelsey Grammer.
Oh yeah.
I didn't peg Anton Yelchin at first because I kept thinking, I was like, man, this sounds a lot like Luke Perry, but it's too young to be Luke Perry. But their voices are so similar, it's crazy.
For a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Trollhunters cereal, so far, this is the most successful Netflix original show to date that is targeted at a younger audience. And I can agree with that because I can't really think of another one, and that's why there's a ton of these Netflix series, and there are a lot that are successful with adults, but I can't really think of any for kids. But this is one that's aimed towards a younger audience. It actually has clout to it and is surprisingly good.
I wonder who Voltron is aimed at, if they consider that adults, teens, or kids.
Yeah,
or
that's a good question.
Everyone, because I had never heard of this, but I knew Voltron.
I guess what's funny about that is like I didn't really consider Voltron in there, even though I love it like so much. I don't know if that's aimed towards a younger audience or not. I don't know who that's for specifically.
I don't know, but I'm just gonna say it's for me.
It's for us.
They made it for us.
Yeah. This is also Del Toro modeled the show's sensibilities after shows he grew up with, such as Johnny Quest, identifying them as really earnest and emotionally beautiful. To this end, he sought to make the main character of Jim in that 70s mold, and really a very good boy, with Del Toro noting that this was a constant struggle for him to express to both the writers and the actors. So he wanted to make sure that Jim almost turned out to be very Leave It to Beaverish in like a more modernized one, but just so nice. Like,
yeah,
like just such a good kid. Like this is every parent's dream of a kid.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Like I don't see any other kids cooking breakfast for their moms in bed. Not me anyway.
Yeah, that was very heartfelt. And I've never cooked my mom breakfast. So
yeah, not in bed or on table or anything,
right.
Period.
No, I've taken her to breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
there's
counts.
That. I've paid for breakfast once. That counts.
I think I did that once or twice.
Also, on a more sad note, and kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, this show serves as one of Yelkin's final projects, as he died shortly after recording most of his character's dialogue. Del Toro, however, refused to replace his recordings, which he noted was a challenge from the show's, or which Del Toro noted was a challenge for the show's recording engineers, because they had to use what was already there and kind of meld it into the show as it was. And like you were saying, I don't know that he actually finished the season as far as recording goes. So maybe they picked up a different voice actor. And to that end, maybe that's how they're going to transition over to a season 2.
Yeah, from what I understood, from having read about it a little bit, also, I don't think they had gotten another actor to finish season 1. I think they used they recycled sound clips and stuff of his, I think.
Oh, that would be a huge challenge too. That's probably why.
But I would assume if they're doing another season, they have to get another voice actor.
Yeah, you can only recycle the same clips so many times.
Right, exactly. So, and that might be why in the second to last episode, we saw like a lot less of that character than in previous ones. So I'm wondering if maybe we saw scenes like that because they couldn't record everything they needed. So maybe they had to change a few things. I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Either way, I like you, I'm curious to see how they're going to pull off a season 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, you said you had never heard of this before, is that right?
Yeah, I had no idea that this existed until it was recommended.
Same here. That's why I was asking. I think even when you mentioned it, or when you brought up that it
You're
was
like, are you
recommended,
sure?
yeah, because I was like, that's like a horror movie from 2010, and I like that horror movie, but
yeah, it's great.
I had never heard of this. I was thinking, I was thinking back, like, well, maybe this is like some of those, like what are they, the trolls with the hair and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the brand. Treasure Trolls, yeah. I was like, is this just a weird treasure troll show? Because there was, I think there were multiple ones. I know there was Stone Protectors, which was like a male aimed trolls thing. It was kind of like their answer to, I don't know, Ninja Turtles and
I had
everything
a
else.
Ninja Turtle treasure troll.
Yeah, there was also those.
I had Raphael. It was just a Ninja Turtle, but with like really big red hair.
Yeah, I still have a Donatello one. It's got the big purple hair. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but just on that note, unrelated to those trolls altogether, just to get that off the plate.
Right.
So let's go ahead and jump into the 3 episodes we watched for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode, and finally, random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically, but of course, we have to start with the very first episode being Becoming, Season 1, Episode 1 and 2, technically. We get these 2 trolls fighting on a bridge. We don't know much about
Fighting
it. Doesn't
under
really have
the bridge.
Oh, true. Trolls under the bridge. Like, it doesn't have any kind of lead in or anything. It's just you come into this battle that's already going on, and we slowly start to learn about this universe's trolls as we go. They're fighting under what looks like a very human bridge. So it's like, okay, so this is our world. We can assume that.
Right.
But then it's also daylight out. And when one of the trolls, the one with the armor on, starts, the troll, there's obviously a good troll and a bad troll. One of them looks very evil. One of them looks kind of valiant with his armor and his sword. And so it's a good versus evil situation. But when the trolls start to touch the sunlight, their skin starts to smoke a little bit and turn to stone.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so they don't like sunlight. They're in the human world somehow, and they're against one another. We have that from the forefront.
Yeah, and it was a strong opening for a show because that got my attention right away. Because like you said, you get thrown right into this fight, like already taking place, and you're like, whoa. And it's kind of a brutal fight. I mean, like they're really, really trying to kill each other. And one of the trolls that we find out is Ron Perlman's character Bular. He's the bad troll.
Yeah.
Is basically telling the other troll to give him the amulet and saying that you can't win, and he's mocking him and calling him the troll hunter, which confused me because I was like, they're both trolls. But
yeah.
I mean, we kind of get that explained later. But anyway, and I thought this was really smart. So I guess like the good troll knew he was going to die, and being intelligent, which is something I usually wouldn't attribute to a troll, but I guess these have some intelligent trolls. He like grabs onto his amulet and he falls backwards out from under the shade of the bridge into the sunlight, where he turns to stone and shatters against the ground. And I mean, the amulet's lying out there, which at first I was like, well, that was dumb. But then I'm like, oh, but the other troll can't get it.
Yeah.
Because then he would turn to stone too and die. So I was like, man, that was really smart. Dude just sacrificed himself in the sunlight to keep that amulet out of his hands temporarily, because he was like, if he's like, I'm going to die. If I die here, he'll get it. If I jump into the sunlight where he can't get to it, maybe there's a chance that someone else or something will pick it up. And that's what happens.
Yeah, it was a very cool opening and let you kind of see right away what was going on and where everyone stood. Even without anything being explained, it really lays the groundwork for you well. And I was wondering, though, I was like, it seems like if these trolls knew that sun equals bad and,
sun
all this.
Equals bad.
That they would carry around umbrellas or something, especially the bad troll, because I mean, think about it. If he had an umbrella, he could have easily got that and show would have been over right away.
Here's the thing though, man, like, I don't know about you, but anytime I use an umbrella, that thing was a little gust of wind and that thing turns inside out.
True.
And then their legs would get turned to stone regardless, and they wouldn't be able to move.
All right, well, fair enough. Maybe not an umbrella. I don't know, but there's other answers to it. But either way, I was with it like you. I thought it was really smart the way they pulled it off, and it was a good way to basically, until nighttime rolls around, open it to where someone else can take this amulet and become the next troll hunter, because we get to know right away, like you said, that this guy's a troll hunter. The troll with the amulet is the troll hunter, even though he is a troll too, as you say. Yeah,
which was confusing.
It was a little confusing at first. Yeah. And so we get to see, this jumps over to Jim, I believe, next, where he's cooking breakfast for his mom, who's had a late night. At first I was like, has she been drinking or something?
That's kind of what I was wondering too.
Yeah, it turns out it's very pure in the sense that she's a nurse or a doctor, and she's working late nights. And so in order to express his appreciation for her, and I guess to show his love. He cooks her breakfast because he knows she's worked hard to basically put a roof over his head. So he's a great kid. I wish, if I ever have a kid, I hope he's like Jim. He won't be.
I wish Joseph was more like that. Yeah.
I wish we could all learn a thing or two from Jim. But yeah, so he cooks breakfast and he's going to be late to class, or he goes outside and his friend Toby's there. And Toby's a hilarious character. I like Toby a lot just
he's
because
very goofy.
Yeah, he's very goofy. And he's something else we get to see is that Jim makes Toby's lunch as well.
Yeah, it seems like he enjoys taking care of people.
Yeah,
it's probably something he gets from his mom, seeing how his mom's a doctor. But I mean, like he takes care of her. He takes care of Toby, or Tobes as Jim likes to call him. And kind of puts them ahead of himself, which like his mom has to remind him pretty often is like, I'm the one that's supposed to be taking care of you, not the other way around. But like he wants to take care of people. So,
and that I think really comes into play in that when they're on their way to class because they're going to be late, they decide to take a shortcut, and they had to take a shortcut through this canal, which is where the trolls were previously fighting. And as Jim is going through it, he sees this glimmer of light from the pile of stones there that was once the original troll the good troll who was fighting. And he goes over to it. It's calling to him. And I think in the same way that literally calls to him, in the same way that like a Green Lantern ring, or really any kind of ring from that Green Lantern universe, is attracted to the person who expresses the most of whatever specific, like in the Green Lantern's case, the most willpower. Right. In this case, I think it's Jim's caring attitude, like you said, that really kind of, it puts the amulet almost in a position to where it's like, we need someone and there are no trolls that can get to us, and we have to, I have to choose a new scion for this power, and this is a caring individual. He will protect, man and troll alike. So it chooses him, and he grabs it.
He takes it with him. He goes to school. He's in class. He's kind of not paying a whole lot of attention. He's really tired. Because the kid takes on an awful lot. So. And one thing that was interesting and I thought was cool was his teacher, who is Mr. Strickler, is kind of cool. Like, I mean, Jim falls asleep, and my initial thought is like, okay, well, the teacher's kind of like, wakes him up and asks him a question, and it's kind of messing with him a little bit. But after the class, he comes over to talk to Jim, and I'm expecting him to be in trouble, like, go to the principal, blah, blah, blah. But instead, he's kind of asking about him, like how he's doing, like how his mother's doing. I guess he kind of knows a little bit maybe of Jim's background, that his mom is a doctor working late nights. So he's kind of asking those questions, seeing if he's getting enough sleep, taking care of himself, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, like this teacher's like a really understanding and awesome guy, until I know better.
Until we find out otherwise.
Yeah, until we'll get there. But I thought that was pretty good. Another thing I thought was really funny was as far as their teachers go, we also see like their like PE coach guy. And I just love this one scene where kind of in the background, you see him yelling at Tobes because they're supposed to be like climbing a rope, and Jim can do it, but Tobes is like the only kid that can't get it. And Tobes barely even gets up the rope. And then he like asks if he's a piñata.
Yeah.
I was cracking up. I thought that was really good.
So he goes home, and he is visited by two trolls that you mentioned earlier, Blinky. And Arg. Who are essentially going to be his guides in undertaking the mantle of Trollhunter.
I love Arg. He's my favorite.
Arg's cool because I like Arg's kind of backstory. He used to be a bad troll working for the Gum Gum trolls, which doesn't sound bad, but it really is. Like those are the evil trolls.
They're the Gum Gums.
That's the Gum Gums.
Like, I guess that's kind of their like faction, or if you want to call it something.
Yeah, because it's not just trolls. It consists of all kinds of different things. Right. And so you've got he was originally a part of the Gum Gum faction, and he decided to turn a new leaf after I can't remember if it said or not, but he did something that he basically found reprehensible and unforgivable.
Right.
And he committed evil deeds, so he decided to become a pacifist and go to the side of what is a good side called? I don't know, the Trollhunters side, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that they ever specify. At least I don't remember a name for them.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I know is they called the bad ones Gum Gum.
Right.
And yeah, so Arg is like, he's a pacifist. He refuses to step in and get his hands dirty. Like, he won't fight.
But he's a huge troll. Like,
yeah.
if he was going to fight something, which he does sometimes to defend people, he basically can mow anybody over. So it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition of this giant, like, brawler looking beast who named Arg, who is a pacifist. Yeah.
And he's just so funny. Like, he's really goofy with the things he says. Like, he's like kind of a big dumb brute in that way. He's a big dumb brute with a huge heart is like the best way to describe him.
He likes to eat VHS tapes.
Yes. And apparently cats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It comes up that much like the Alf aliens, trolls like to eat cats.
Yeah, apparently.
That's the thing. Apparently, man, I guess I just need to try cat sometime because, I mean, this has come up like more times than can be coincidence. So there's something going on with cats.
Yeah, I mean, cats need to really beware aliens because they are all going to be gunning for them.
He's kind of weirded out by the whole thing and he's not really believing stuff. But that night he's kind of playing with the amulet. He ends up transforming, or not transforming, but the amulet basically creates this armor around him, and with the amulet kind of centered on the side of one of the chest plates. But at first it was kind of funny because the armor was huge on him because it was like the size of like its former bearer, and then it shrinks to his size and he gets a cool sword and he's like, and he's trying to wave it around. He keeps getting it stuck in a rock, which was kind of fun. Oh,
the sword was also huge at first and it had to shrink down to where he could carry it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he has to, it's like, I guess I don't completely understand the armor and when it activates, because at first I thought it was activated by when he said, for the glory of Merlin, daylight is mine to command. That doesn't always seem to be the case.
No, it has something to do with his emotions at the time as well.
Yeah, we do hear that it is very tied to his emotions, how the amulet is reacting.
Like, it's when he's afraid, the armor will don itself.
The Gum Gums, real quick, because I just remembered, there's trolls, there's goblins, there's gruesomes, and other various creatures. So those are the Gum Gums.
Also.
Oh yeah, and the gnomes, right?
The gnomes.
The one gnome that we see is hilarious. He's really funny.
I love him.
But so the armor's responding. His armor responds to danger or to his emotion. And Mr. Strickler comes in, who we learn a little bit earlier is not all that he seems to be.
We see a scene with him with Bular. They're kind of talking about the amulet and stuff. And you're like, oh no, like he's in on it. Yeah. And then his eyes flash like yellow. So he's not even human. And you're just like, what? Like, oh man, like I didn't see it coming at all. I feel stupid for not having seen it coming, but I didn't see it coming.
See, I wonder though if he was because what he ends up being is a changeling,
right?
But it's like, was at the first part of the series when we see him, is that still him? Because what we find is that changelings, like they can't just like create a form, from my understanding. They have to like take someone else's form. So they kidnap, to my assumption is they kidnap this teacher and then take his form on. So I wonder if he was replaced at any point.
I don't know. See, because I watched a few more episodes of this show and it seems like it's been him the whole time.
Oh, okay. Huh. Maybe they just kidnapped him a long time ago or worse.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I think he's been Strickler for a very, very long time.
Okay.
So yeah, he's trying to show Tobes his armor, and that's what they're kind of explaining things, and he's like playing with the light switch as Blinky's trying to explain like this very serious situation, and Arg's just flipping the switch on and off because he doesn't know what it is. And
do you mind?
yeah, it's pretty good. I like that a lot.
They are a good pair because
Yes.
Blinky, Kelsey Grammer's character, is definitely the straight man of the group. And so it's cool to see their interactions together because they're very different in how they react to things. We get to see Jim auditioning. Well, so Mr. Strickler catches Jim in his armor. And so he's like, oh, it's for this audition I'm doing for Romeo and Juliet, because he had said that he was going to earlier to Claire,
which is like his classmate and who he has a big crush on.
Right.
And she doesn't really I kind of get the feeling that they've probably never spoken before, but he would do anything to impress her. And so he had talked to her earlier because she had asked him if he was going to audition for the play. Mm-hmm. And he was very tripping over himself. And he's like, yeah, sure, yeah. So then it kind of clicks his mind. Oh yeah, this is for my audition. And and I think he didn't really have any intention of going, but then Mr. Strickler's like, oh, well, let me make sure we get you there.
Yeah, it kind of forces his hand. Yeah. And then he gets there. And I really like how he played this one out. I can't remember the entire speech. I wish I had written it down, but it was a speech about destiny being a gift, basically, that Blinky had given him earlier regarding his destiny of becoming the Troll Hunter. So he managed to transition that over into an audition as Romeo and just killed it because he delivered it so sincerely that everyone was just like blown away by it.
Blinky was giving that talk. I think Jim was like, don't tell me this is going to be some sort of this is my destiny garbage. And
right.
But basically, like once night falls, Bular goes on the offensive and comes after them. Jim dons his armor, but then he's like, nope, and runs away.
Yeah, he knows he's not ready. It's been stated that he's not ready. And something that Blinky had said previously was like, when asked, he was like, how long is it going to take to train? Like, how long does it usually take to train a troll hunter? And he's like, decades. Yeah. And how long do I have? Roughly 3 days or something.
Yes.
And so he knows he's not ready. So yeah, he dons the armor and then he decides to run because obviously, Bular is more than a match for him right now. Yeah. And so he and Toby managed to escape, of course. And Bular is just making threats like he's going to drink his blood out of a goblet made of his skull or something.
Where they escape to is awesome.
Oh, how they go through the alleyway?
Well, they end up in that portal eventually because Bular confronts them.
Oh, right. Yeah. He gets pulled through the portal and that ends them up in Heartstone Troll Market, which is basically the I guess the transitional spot between the troll world, at least on the good side, the troll world and our reality.
And it is like beautiful looking. Everything's golden and like all these bright colors and gemstones, and like it looks amazing. Like it's a great design.
Yeah, this whole show looks not pretty good. It looks really good. It's all CG. Right. Just to mention that. And it's your typical DreamWorks affair. So if you like DreamWorks CG animation, then you'll appreciate this show.
Right. And like, I mean, you can obviously tell because Guillermo del Toro has a very dreamy and semi-sinister look to pretty much everything he does.
Yeah. If you think Hellboy or you think Pan's Labyrinth.
Especially.
Yeah.
There's that grim fairy tale kind of look to most of his stuff. And this show definitely has that. I mean, not all the time, but you definitely see the parts where you're like, okay, that was definitely something Guillermo came up with. Like the troll market, you're like, okay, this is obviously something that came out of his brain. There's a few scenes in the next episode that take place in this forest, and you're like, okay, this definitely came from him, and I believe he created the show to begin with, right?
Yeah, he created the show, and also, it was based on a book that he had made. And it was going to be made into a movie, but they decided instead, he intended it for it to be live action.
Yeah.
And then due to budget constraints, they decided to make it animated, and then it turned from being a movie into a series. So
it's very much like, I mean, this is his brainchild, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, and it's still ongoing, like I said. There's also, actually, I believe I read there's going to be a comic book series based on it as well. So
that'll be cool.
That's TBD on that. And season 2 should be coming sometime 2017. Things to look forward to.
Good.
So for the second episode we watched for today's show, it was Claire and Present Danger, season 1, episode 12, which was our listener pick.
Yeah.
Chosen by the Precise Climber.
Yes. And hopefully not an ice climber. Just precise climber.
Just very precise. He accurately climbs anything. So in Claire and Present Danger, the Kill-Ahead Bridge is complete, but the door to the Darklands still won't open. Jim is forced to tell Claire the truth when she becomes the target.
I feel like that doesn't represent this episode very well.
Not entirely.
Because, I mean, the big problem here is, I mean, we didn't get to see what happened, but something happened and Claire's younger brother was kidnapped by the Gum-Gums and taken away.
And replaced with a changeling.
Who was kind of funny, and like Tobes is trying to like bribe him with dirty socks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty good. But we don't know the purpose of why he was stolen or where he was taken, just that the Gum-Gums did it. And so Jim is at first like trying to find a way to get him back. But so they are able to open like this kind of little portal thing, but I don't remember what the reason was that they decided not to have Jim go through, that maybe he just isn't ready to do it. So at this point, they have a little gnome friend. He pops up in one of the earlier episodes. That's when he's introduced, but he is now their friend, Gnome Chomsky. And Gnome Chomsky, even though he doesn't speak a language they can understand, Tobe seems to be able to understand him for the most part, and he volunteers to be the one to go through the portal.
Well, he also, what's hilarious, at least one of the parts, is Toby has allowed Gnome Chomsky to live in the dollhouse in his room. He falls, this Gnome Chomsky falls in love with the Barbie doll or something.
Yeah.
And so when he's going through the portal, like he thinks it might be like his last stand or whatever. So he basically like hugs and says goodbye to the Barbie, like it's gonna be the last time he sees her. And it was just really funny because these little trolls are like horrifying looking. They have sharp little teeth and they just look terrible.
Yeah.
Little gnomes. Yeah.
They have really sharp, like piranha-like teeth. It's creepy.
Yeah. And like, I don't think they have pupils either.
Yeah, I think their eyes are literally just like black dots, and that's it.
Yeah.
They put him on like a tether or something, and he goes in.
Very much like Poltergeist, if you think of it like that.
And then like it gets yanked on, and then the rope comes back, and it's been severed. And like you're like, oh, Gnome Chomsky's definitely gone. So everyone's real sad and just like, oh no, what do we do? And Jim's like, I'm gonna have to tell Claire that her brother's gone, and you know, he's got to explain it. So he needs to show her the armor and all that stuff. But something's going on, and the armor won't come out.
Yeah. Well, it turns out.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background on what the Gum-Gums are trying to do on this Kill-Ahead Bridge. After they have constructed this structure, they're trying to summon Bular's father from the Darklands, I guess, and they haven't been able to do that without the power of the amulet. And even with the power of the amulet, which they have stolen at this point and replaced with a fake, and that is what Jim has currently, is the fake amulet. It turns out they can't do it without the amulet bearer to the troll hunter to power this amulet. So
right,
it's kind of a double thing they have to do, and so that then sends them on the hunt, or I guess Bular and his father send these other of the Gum-Gums on the hunt for Jim to retrieve him in order to bring him back for the summon. And like you were saying, all the while Jim is trying to transform and use his armor so that he can show Claire and explain this to her.
Yeah, and Claire's really not having it. She is
no, she's sick and tired of it because, well, and she's in a very stressed situation because her little brother is missing.
Right. So she's getting upset, and Jim had come to her house in the middle of the night and like had kind of like climbed up her window or something, and I guess something had happened and she was told that, I don't know, by her parents or something to stay away from him. And so I think Jim is becoming a bit of a pariah because of circumstances, at least as far as Claire and her family are concerned. So she's not happy at all to see him, and he's saying all these crazy things to her, and she doesn't believe him, and he's saying he can don this armor, and he's got a sword, it's not showing up. Now, what happens that prompts basically the rest of the episode is a lot of goblins show up and come after Claire. And basically they flee into the woods and they become surrounded, and he's yelling the whole time his magic phrase. Apparently, though, when he really needs the amulet, like, he can call to it and it'll come to him regardless of where he is. So as he's doing this, he realizes, like, I think he had dropped the amulet and it came apart, and he realized he had a fake. At some point, it got switched. So he's calling out to the real amulet, and in the nick of time, it shows up. He gets his armor, his sword. Claire's like, oh. And then, like, he's just battling the crap out of these, like, goblins. I mean, he's, like, straight up, like, I mean, this is a real fight. And it's, like, in the middle of these dark woods. It gets pretty hardcore.
Yeah, like, he is chopping these goblins apart. I mean, you're not seeing, like, giblets of them or anything.
They, like, disappear or something.
Yeah, you might see like some goblin slime, which I guess is their blood on. And they're just, the goblins they're communicating with each other, but they don't really speak English at all. They're just saying gibberish. like waka chaka and stuff. Like they sound like Animal from the Muppet Babies, basically.
Yeah, it's like Animal combined with Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
When the goblins will be like, waka waka.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
And the others will just look at him like, he's not with us.
Yeah, we don't know this guy. So yeah, he's slicing him apart. Claire's freaking out still, and then this whistling starts. And
yeah, that was creepy.
It's almost like death is upon you when this sound comes.
But this person's whistling it really slowly, and it's kind of echoing, and you can't see them. Then finally they step out, and it's this like large female, like purple goblin kind of thing with these two swords. Mm-hmm. And she can talk, and she's basically like, you're gonna die. And like, yeah. It's like, she's kind of scary, man. Like, oh wow. I wasn't expecting to get creeped out that much by her, but she really creeped me out.
Yeah, she's pretty intense. And I think ultimately what ends up happening is she, in some way, she beats Jim because she's a superior fighter.
Yeah.
And she has him dead to rights. And she's not going to kill him because he's still needed for this ceremony.
Yes.
But she's starting to take him in. And that's when basically all of Jim's friends show up to come and assist.
Oh, yeah. Claire had run back to her house and grabbed her father.
That's what it was.
On one side, those two are running. On the other side, Tobes, Blinky, and Arg are running. So this goblin lady's surrounded, and she ends up like disappearing because she's like, I can't take everybody at once. And so she just leaves Jim there. And I don't know exactly what happened to Jim, but he must have gotten beaten pretty bad because he's basically unconscious and like unresponsive to the point where he's taken to the emergency room. And we kind of see things from his perspective to the end of the episode where you just barely see him, like from your viewpoint, you just barely open your eyes and you can kind of see a little bit of the emergency room. You see his mom rushing him in a stretcher and she's like freaking out, and then his like eyes close again, and it's just like, yeah, you're like, man, he's very, very injured, if not dying. So
at some point, I don't remember if this happened during this episode or when, but Blinky was captured by the other side, by the Gum-Gums. And they're trying to open something at the very end of the episode, and they're saying like, it won't open for us, but maybe it will for you. I can't recall, but I know just know that they have Blinky, even though they weren't able to capture Jim. So he is their captive at this point, as of episode 12. So that jumps us over to the third episode we watched for today's show, which was many episodes later, season 1, episode 25. This was the highest rated episode, A Night to Remember, where with Barbara's life hanging in the balance, Jim races to break the spell that bonds her to Strickler. Angor Rot attacks Toby and Claire.
Yes, so a lot happened in between the last episode we watched and this one. Jim's all right, but his mom is dying, and Strickler
in a
is
really
with
unique,
them, and
in a really unique way. Like it says in the intro, like she's somehow has a bond to Strickler, a pain bond in a way.
Yeah. We see that he's hurt, like his arm is in a sling or something. And what's interesting is we know by this point that the other characters know what Strickler is, because they regard him with so much like malice, and just, I mean, the looks they give him, like they despise this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he isn't dead is because if they kill him, then Barbara dies.
Right. And I wonder if that's what happened leading up to this, is that he was in a spot where he was going to be killed. And so he says something.
I think he says like exactly that at one point, is I did it because if I didn't, you would have killed me. And one thing to hammer this home is, I mean, we talked earlier about how Arg is a pacifist, but Arg said something about like he would have killed him. And I'm like, whoa, if the pacifist says that, like, man, like they really hate this guy.
He's not only bonded to her physically, but he's got an emotional bond of some sort. And I don't know how much of this is true or just lip service on his part, but he says that he's falling in love with her, or has fallen in love with Barbara, Jim's mom.
Yep.
So that's strange.
We really missed some stuff apparently, but yeah, like he does say that he's in love with her, because they were basically saying, to save her life, they have to break that bond. Mm-hmm. And even though he knows that they could kill him if they do it, he agrees to do it. And even when they're doing the spell to break it, you can see the dude's in excruciating pain breaking the bond, but he's still like doing it, and he's saying he's like, forgive me, and all this stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I believe the guy.
Yeah, actually, seeing how much pain he's in breaking the spell, it's like, okay, he wouldn't have done this if he didn't care for her.
Yeah, and,
definitely. Jim did promise, though, that he promised not to kill him, and that he would protect him to make sure the others didn't kill him either.
Right, exactly.
In this process. There's also in the background a school dance that's going to happen. And this is kind of a subplot where Jim wants to go to that with Claire, of course, and it's something that they've really been looking forward to. And then this comes into play where Jim has to, of course, go back to, I can't remember what he's doing right here, where it might actually be this part where he's gone to Strickler to make this happen.
Yeah, Jim has to stay with his mom and with Strickler. But there's a certain reason, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but maybe you do, that somebody has to get to the school. Claire volunteers and Tobes goes with her.
They need to get Strickler's book that has incantation in it to break the bond.
That's right. Yeah. So they can't break the bond unless they get the book. So before they even start breaking that bond, Tobes and Claire go there to get to his office, and that's during the dance, and lots of like shenanigans ensue, of course. And they get caught by a teacher, the coach.
Also, to add to this, to the de-bonding of Barbara and Strickler, when it happens, one of the caveats also is that Jim's mom will lose her memory, at least memory of what led to this point.
Yes.
And I don't know why that would be such a bad thing, really, but they're treating it very, very much like it would be. At first, I thought it was going to wipe her memory completely. And then I was like, oh, man, the stakes are really high. But no, it just wipes it back, so she doesn't really know anything about the trolls or what Jim's doing. And she makes him promise, though. She makes Jim promise that after she comes back, after, she wakes up, he lets her in on all this, that he's honest with her, because it was almost like him hiding all this is what led to it in the first place. And so we don't really get to see how that's resolved in a certain sense. We don't know, because, we see her wake up and she's fine, and she's just like, she doesn't know exactly what's going on, but we don't know if Jim lets her in on what's actually going on or not.
Well, she says something like, how did I get here? And instead of explaining it at that point, at least he says, oh, there was an accident and you passed out.
Right.
So I was like, oh, he lied to his mom right after he promised not to.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know if the reveal will ever come or if he will let her know what's going on. But at this point, at least, he's keeping it from her still supposedly for her own safety, or at least so she won't worry.
Now, I do got to talk about the so Angor Rot shows up at that dance, and basically he is after a key that would lead him to the Heartstone Troll Market for the Gum Gums. And Angor Rot, this dude looks awesome. He looks this. He looks like a troll mixed with like a pharaoh mummy corpse thing, and he's just so crazy awesome and scary looking. And but Claire is a little bad, and she's got this cool staff, and she is fighting this dude like tooth and nail. I mean, they're really going at it, and then like kicks him in the balls.
Oh yeah, kicks him in the balls.
That was fantastic. But
yeah. And that's kind of what opens the portal and allows her to. So before, I guess she had taken a javelin class and she had this spear thing. So in order to get this page of this book that they need to save Jim's mom, this is going back a little bit, because the portal's kind of behind Angor Rot. She doesn't really have a easy way to do this. So
and he snatched the book. He's got it in his hand.
That's right. And so she like throws the spear through, and it impales at least the page of the book or the whole book, I can't remember, and sends it through the portal so that she was able to get it. Even no matter what happened to her or what was going to happen to her, she wanted to make sure that the book got to where it needed to go through that portal. So, and she was successful at that.
And then, something weird happened that I didn't understand until later, is that so Angor kind of gets the best of them and kind of shoves them off the roof, and like he was holding on to Claire's purse, and the purse gets ripped away, and that's when they fall off the roof. Luckily, some stuff breaks their fall and they're okay, but then Angor kind of retreats and stuff, or at least like leaves them alone so they escape.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't think much of it, but I did note that he had her purse. And it's later on, after like Jim's mom is okay and she's recovering in hospital and stuff like that, and Jim was sad that he couldn't take Claire to the dance, and he's like, oh, I've got a different plan of mine. And they go up to this like cliff, and so this scene was awkward. This was a really weird dance scene because they just had these weird looks on their faces, and I thought like maybe the facial expressions were not animated very well here. This is probably my only qualm with the animation portion of things, but it was just weird. But then like Jim goes in for a kiss, and then she like not shoves him away, but she kind of avoids it. And it's not because she doesn't want to kiss him, it's because she has the realization that the key to the Heartstone Troll Market was in her purse, and Angor got it. So the Gum Gums can invade the Troll Market.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cutoff point, at least on episode 25. I didn't personally watch the last episode of this season. I don't know if you did.
I have not, no.
Okay, yeah. So the suspense is high, and we're not sure what's going to happen, but we can rest assured that I'm sure the Gum Gums will be invading Troll Market in that last episode.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, that's where we are on that.
Yes.
Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we summon our own little inner trolls to defend us from the creatures of the Darklands, and then, assuming they survive, find out what they thought of the show Trollhunters.
This cartoon got me in trouble because when I watched it, it made me want to go outside and hunt for trolls. So I took my plastic sword, rode my bike to a couple bridges, but all I found were homeless people who asked if I liked ice cream or told me really boring stories about how I should never get married. I guess even though I couldn't find any trolls, this show was fun, and I gave it 4.5 bowls of changelings you thought were cereal out of 5.
For a show that fell under my cartoon radar, Trollhunters really managed to deliver for me on all fronts. It's Jim's awesome power fantasy made reality, carrying the not so awesome parts right along with it. The action scenes were pretty amazing, and the characters very likable and diverse. I mean, Kelsey Grammer's voice seems to make everything a little bit better. Jim is a kid who at first seems a little too pure and genuine, but the more I watched it, the more his character not only became believable, but also felt very real. I could see his character being a strong role model for other children, maybe with less sword swinging and more standing up for friends and family. Overall, Trollhunters is an epic tale grounded in reality with a surprisingly emotional core, so I'd give this show 4.5 big bowls of changeling crunchies out of 5. And while this quote is of course from Spider-Man, I really feel like it applies here as well. With great power comes great responsibility. Spider Troll, Spider Troll.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Spider Troll.
Yeah, of course.
He was my favorite in the Spider-Verse crossovers.
Right. It does whatever a spider troll does, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
Under the bridge. He sticks to bridges.
Yeah, only under bridges, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't swing around a lot.
No, definitely not.
But that bridge is safe. I'll tell you that.
Underneath the bridge is very safe.
Yeah.
All those homeless people are in good hands.
Right. Nobody's getting married today.
Right. So do you have any final thoughts about Trollhunters?
And for something I knew nothing about, and kind of expected coming from Del Toro, this was a really good show, and I'm kind of curious to watch the rest of it, especially because there's not much of it so far. It's only one season. Really all around, I think, was very morally strong, and it sent a really good message. So as far as shows aimed towards youth goes, especially one that has battle revolving around it and, a war in a sense, it really does hit home a lot of really strong emotional points, especially having to do with defending your family and friends and just standing up for what you believe in. And so I think that overall it's a great show, and I can definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, what I've seen of it so far, especially like the first few episodes, it started super strong for me. And, through the episodes I've seen, there were a few parts I felt that it lacked a little bit of excitement, and the script could have used a little more polish, and that would have gotten it a 5 in my book. But I still really enjoyed it enough that I did watch more episodes, and I think I'm going to continue and finish the series. More than anything, I love the color. I love the design. The animation was beautiful, and it just had this awesome aesthetic, like I talked about, that is exactly Guillermo del Toro's flavor. So really, really pleased with this show, and really glad that we got to see it. So thank you very much to the Precise Climber on YouTube. Keep climbing, man. Keep climbing. Or woman. Keep climbing.
Yeah. Thank you, Precise Climber, as long as you're not an ice climber.
Yes. Don't climb if you're climbing ice, because we're not having it.
Right. Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. Next week, we'll be watching
He-Man, submitted by our friend, fellow podcaster, and comic book author, Justin Corbett.
And he will also be guesting on that show with us. So
yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun.
Starring with us. And we have fun stories about the He-Man cast when he comes on, because the three of us got to meet members of the He-Man cast. So together, it was great.
All together, it'll be a fun show.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we're looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
And we have another 5-star iTunes review.
What?
And this is a short and sweet one by NotTim375. He says, a thoughtful and funny podcast, that is the title. And the subject says exactly what the title says. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Hold on. So a thoughtful and funny podcast?
Yep. Thoughtful and funny. That's us.
All right.
That's me.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. What was your name before? What were we supposed to start calling you?
Smoking Hot. My name's Smoking Hot. That's me.
Yeah.
Hop in.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry if no one knows what I'm talking about. It was a few episodes ago. You'll get there.
I mean, this show is just full of classic things like that. And
really weird.
Saw Boss.
There's a lot. Saw Boss. There's a lot of weird in jokes in this show that continue. So if you ever hop into an episode and you don't know what we're talking about, if you don't know who Lava Jesus is, which happened, we did have somebody on Twitter once say, "What the heck is Lava Jesus?"
Yeah.
Then we told him the episode, and then he came back like, "Lava Jesus."
So, yeah, I mean, our podcast is thoughtful and funny.
And funny. I'm glad someone thinks we're funny.
Yeah. Did you put that? Did you write that review?
I might have. I might have paid this person. He was supposed to put handsome too, but
nah. Well,
didn't do it. I guess
he can only You can only lie so much in a sentence, I guess.
I get what I pay for, man. All I had was $2, so
That 3 would have got us the handsome.
3 would have got us handsome. Or at least hand.
Right. And hand. ... Well, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.